the Panthers are getting dragged back to Edmonton, as the Oilers said, and for the first time in the playoffs, the Panthers are kind of facing some adversity here, aren't we? I mean, when Edmonton won 8-1 in Game 4, I wasn't surprised that Florida lost. I wasn't even surprised that necessarily at the blowout, because you knew Edmonton was going to give their best shot. They weren't going to get swept on home ice and let Florida dance around with the cup, over up there in Rogers Arena, or whichever Rogers it is. I always mix them up. But the 8-1 victory, they really came out strong. You kind of saw shades of that in Game 3 in the third period. Florida did rally, in Game 5, to make it 4-3. But, I mean, Edmonton got the start that you wanted in Game 5. I mean, to get a shorthanded goal like that right out of the box, if you were wishing on a genie as an Oilers fan, that's it right there. And that they built the lead, and yes, they let him back, but I don't know. Florida's got facing adversity for the first time. Sergei Bobrovsky looks human, at least the last couple of games. What are your guys' takes here after Game 5, looking ahead to Game 6? You guys both had the Panthers in 6. I had the Panthers in 5. So you guys are still on the right path. I'm donezo, though.
Yeah, and we even last week we were talking about, do we move it to 5 games? Are we looking at a sweep here? When you have home ice like the Panthers have, and you go up 3-0, I think that the goal is to, at the very least, finish this in 5. Those back 3 games, game 5, 6, and 7, you are setting yourself up for, some pain, because look, they lose now Game 5, and we're going Game 6 in Edmonton, where now they have all the momentum that they need. And they can force this into Game 7, and they could put, Florida against the wall. Like, now we can see a possibility that Edmonton could come back. And it's not just like any old hockey team trying to. You have Connor McDavid, who's on a freaking run right now. You have, Draisaitl, who hasn't really been that big of a factor in this finals, waiting for him to wake up. So, I mean, there's just so much possibilities going into these, what is going to be now the final 2 games. If it does go to Game 7, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if Edmonton kind of pulls something off here, especially with how, Skinner was off in the beginning of the series and has now turned it back up, even though, Florida kind of gave them a little run there, but he was a stalwart right there. Same thing in the last series with Dallas. So we've seen the evidence there. I don't know if they could pull it off. I still want to stick with Panthers in 6. But if Edmonton wins here, I don't know, man. It's going to be
didn't you go with Panthers in 5? And
I did the Panthers in 5.
Oh, you did Panthers.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to hold some people accountable here.
I'm done. I really thought Florida in 5 it had that look, and then they just not go that way.
To be fair, I had initially Panthers in 6, but then we said, would we change anything? And I was like, maybe Panthers in 5 does make sense here if they don't just sweep it at all. So that's where the 5 comes in.
Got Mouth of the South, saw a couple of his comments. He said, correct, if Leon wakes up, it's all over for Florida. Now, Draisaitl has not had a huge impact on this series. And I'm just throwing this out there, and he kind of has the vibe of somebody playing through an injury right now, because his effect, he doesn't just stop being one of the top players on the planet. So I something tells me he's playing through something.
Remember we were sitting here last week and we were all worried about Connor McDavid and like betting against him and everything. And then Superhuman just woke up with 8 points in 2 games. I will say this though, Panther fans and Edmonton fans especially, let's simmer down a little bit here. Okay. Florida is one of the better teams. They were one of the better teams on the road all year. So I'm not necessarily worried about them. Florida has gotten away from everything that has made them successful, right? Because you're seeing like McDavid every once in a while is going to go through Mikko Mikkola like he's a third pairing defenseman in the Swedish Elite League. No offense to the Swedish Elite League, but like, he's going to make people look bad, and it's what it is. But you have to contain him. You cannot have success when he has 8 points in 2 games. You just can't do it, right? And everything that made Florida successful, they've started to fail. You cannot give up shorthanded goals, man. You have the advantage, take it, right? You also can't be letting Bouchard clap bombs and like pucks are going in. At first, they made it like Edmonton was around the edge in those first 3 games. Nothing was really dangerous. They weren't getting many shots on. Like, it was tough. And all of a sudden here, it seems like they've cracked the code. Edmonton's going out and they're peppering the net, and Bobrovsky looks human. And that's fair. I don't think he is lost. Like, some people are like, oh, McDavid now has to win the Conn Smythe. There's nothing that can take him away. Let's slow down a little bit here. Superhuman has become superhuman. Very good. But I still believe, first of all, the Florida Panthers knew I had them in 6. Okay. They're doing the best that they can to accommodate me. And I appreciate that. I really do.
Paul Maurice.
It's a nice guy. I found out in my dad's office pool, I cannot finish first. I can finish second, but I need Florida in 6. So they're just doing it so I can finish second. Thank you for that help. But they have to get back to what they were doing at first, which is limiting their best, like the best players. Guys like Corey Perry don't score goals if Connor McDavid is not tiptoe dancing around everybody, right? And you're not giving up shorthanded goals to Connor Brown if you're working with the puck and you're making sure you have to possess it. You have to find a way to slow down Edmonton's better players. Let the others beat you. Like, Darnell Nurse and Cody Ceci still play hockey, and we haven't heard a single thing about how terrible they are because they haven't. Florida hasn't been exposing them. Florida needs to get back to what they were doing. We know they can do it. They're a very good road hockey team. I'm not expecting them to just fold here like a chair. This is a well-coached group. This is a really good team. They have depth. Everybody is, I guess, relatively healthy, if you want to say. They have the tools here, but it is exceptionally important for them. I will say this now, exceptionally important that they start game 6 and survive the first 10 minutes, because it is going to be chaos in oil country. It is going to be rocking, and you need to kind of make sure that wave doesn't go out of control. You got to go in there, survive the first 10 minutes, keep that game close. However you win it, doesn't matter. You just need one more puck in the net than your opponent. That's all you're looking for. Don't go out there, put yourself in a bad spot. I know it's a lot to try to contain McDavid, but collectively, you got to do it. You got to figure it out. Alexander Barkov's got to figure it out again. The rest of the gang's got to figure it out.
Yeah, that absolutely. First 10 minutes of game 6, vital, because like you said, the building's going to be rocking. And if Edmonton gets a goal in the first 10 minutes, not to say it's over, it's a 1-0 lead early in the game, but you don't want to give a building, to quote Spinal Tap, that's already at an 11. You don't want to give them a reason to go up to 12. I know the Amps don't go to 12. They only go to 11, but the Edmonton crowd will go to 12 if somebody gets a goal in the first half of the first period. So, and it's also,
don't give them any hope. That's what you want to do. Don't give them a single, like right now, Edmonton feels confident. They're like, we're going to drag them back. Connor McDavid dragged them back. He's like, get on this plane, ship your way back over to Canada. Connor McDavid dragged them back. So, right now, the Oilers are probably feeling a lot more confidence than they did like 5 days ago. So, yeah, just extinguish that.
No danger of overconfidence. I mean, I know we've talked about how good Florida is and that they're a good road team and well coached and all that. So, no worries about overconfidence here with Edmonton. Coming home with the momentum. I don't think so. I mean, they did this against Dallas last round. We thought Dallas was kind of in control early in the series. It was looking like it was going to go the Stars' way. Edmonton rallied around game 3, game 4, and all of a sudden it was pretty much Stu Skinner at Edmonton the rest of the way. So Florida's got to stave that off. If I'm not going to say if it goes back to Florida for game 7, the series is over and Edmonton's going to do the reverse sweep, because I could very much see Edmonton forcing a game 7 and then Florida just all of a sudden figuring it out, getting back to their ways, and then all of a sudden it's like early in the series. I really have no idea how game 6 is going to go. I'm excited. This is one of the better Friday nights in a long time.
You don't even have to go anywhere. Just strap right in. Grab yourself some buttered popcorn, favorite beverage of choice. Settle in. It's about to be chaos.
I mean, it's a Friday night, and for me on the West Coast, it's dinner time. I mean, I did just do Wingstop recently. Maybe I go pizza. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Get whatever you want.
Yeah.
One of each.
Florida also has to stay out of the penalty box. I mean,
yes,
they have 17 more penalty minutes than the Edmonton Oilers. You don't want to, especially in these last 2 games, you don't want to be in the penalty box. You don't want to get, like Chris said, you don't want to give the Oilers any hope that they are going to, figure this out. Because if they do win game 6, the pressure is really on Florida at home. that's why that game 5 was so crucial for Florida to finish it off there, because now you got to go back to Edmonton. You got to deal with the crowd there, and then you get to come back home. But like, you are under pressure of the fact that you were up 3-0, and now you've just blown that series lead. So it's not looking good for the Panthers at this moment in time, but there's still some time for them to figure this out. They just gotta, keep everything calm.
We do have to acknowledge the effort Matthew Tkachuk made to keep the puck out of the empty net initially. I mean, sometimes you can make that effort and accidentally knock it in. I mean, to have the peace of mind and the steadiness with your stick to do it like that. And, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, hell of a pinch to make it 4-3 on that goal. That was, I understand you have to do that as a defenseman because you're trying to make something happen, 2-goal deficit, but you did it perfectly. But you also gave up on that play. After the way Matthew Tkachuk swap that out of the net, like, dude, it's game 5 of the Stanley Cup here. You can't be coasting in the corner like that. Chris and I can do that on our Thursday night leagues when the game is over, more than in the books. But it was not in the books there.
I can guarantee you, I am pulling no Matthew Tkachuk's late. Like, if once I see that puck going the other way, I'm still in the offensive zone. Like, I'm offside by at least 30 feet. I'll stand at the blue line. You work your way back up here.
No, I would try to do what Tkachuk would do. I just probably would not come close to having
I don't have the
success.
foot speed at my age anymore. Like, I'm slowly getting on the mid 30s now. My foot speed is down. My shot's not great. I'm just out there for the moral support. If anything, I'm out here. I have all the Matthew Tkachuk like mouth to run, but I just don't have the skill to back it up anymore.
Fair enough. We do want to thank Mouth of the South for keeping us company here today on Total Hockey Now here on he's on YouTube but also on Twitter. Adam, I can't wait. 30 million Canadians are gonna be watching Game 6. We only have 40 million Canadians, so I do think a 75 share is about right for a Game 6 there, and hopefully forcing a Game 7. Now, of course, we've been talking Conn Smythe odds every week here. We got to go one more week for it. Let's get the Conn Smythe odds up on the screen. And yeah, Connor McDavid was a plus 500 last week. Now he's minus 175. Next closest would be Sasha Barkov at plus 250, who was a plus 480 last week. Sergei Bobrovsky plus 700 now. Last week, he was the odds-on favorite at minus 160. A couple of losses like that will set him back. Although I am curious, if he posts a shutout in Game 6 to win, does that vault him back? Has Connor McDavid had a good enough playoffs to get it as a losing member is the other question we have to ask. Because basically at this point, you look at everybody else. Matthew Tkachuk is plus 5,000. Last week he was 2,400, but then it gets to be plus 30,000 and plus 50,000 after that. So they're not off the board, but you're talking about a hat trick to get themselves back. And even so, I mean, those are the two questions right there. Is A, McDavid the Conn Smythe winner no matter what? B, does Bobrovsky have to get a shutout and one of these to take over the top otherwise, or is it Barkov if Florida holds on? So those are the questions I have here.
I think it's McDavid whether they win or lose.
All right.
I posted this on our Twitter page or X page, whatever you want to call it. But Connor McDavid, when facing elimination in these playoffs, in 4 games, 3 goals, 8 assists, 11 points. I mean, the guy has been unstoppable, especially over the last couple of games as well. And he's the face of the league. I mean, like, he's gonna have a couple extra points for that as well.
I think what he's done has been amazing, right? But if Florida wins, Sergei Bobrovsky lifts the Conn Smythe. There's enough skill on both sides. There's a player from both sides that you can take. So I have a hard time understanding how, like, it's exceptionally hard to win the Conn Smythe and lose the Stanley Cup. It's really, really hard. And not to take anything away from McDavid, because he has earned every single accolade that he has gotten. There's no question about that. He is dragging this team with him. He is a force that cannot be stopped. But if the Panthers win, in part it's because of Sergei Bobrovsky. Actually, not in part. He is the reason they took Game 1. So for me to sit here, look at them and go, take everything that Sergei Bobrovsky has done and throw it in the trash because of 2 games that have not gone well, it's not all on him either. His team has not provided him with a ton of support. He's not the one taking penalties. He's not the one allowing odd man rushes. It's through no fault of his own that McDavid's dancing around 4 guys. There's only so much like you can do as a goalie, but you can definitely impact the game. So for the Panthers to be in this spot right now, is because of Sergei Bobrovsky as well. Has he come back down to earth? Yes, but we also expected the Oilers to be a lot better than they were at the beginning, and they are. So I'm not. If Florida has to win in order for Bobrovsky to take, I would take Bobrovsky at plus 700 now. You're telling me it was minus 160, and now I get that kind of value on it? Absolutely, I'll take it. Those are the two winners for me. It's McDavid if Edmonton wins the Cup. It's Sergei Bobrovsky if Florida wins it, because they're going to need Bobrovsky to stop the puck at some point. And he's demonstrated that he can do that, right? I know he's gone through a phase where he wasn't able to stop the puck. He seems to be okay with doing it. It's a slight blimp here. We're seeing the best of the Edmonton Oilers. I'm not ready to sell my Sergei Bobrovsky shares just yet. I'm not willing to give it to Connor, because even if he has a great game 6 and a game 7, if they don't win, like, I don't know. To me, it's just Bobrovsky's done enough to earn it. Now he's got to solidify it.
Let me ask this, and my buddy texted me like, oh, McDavid's only got, at that point, it was like, he only has 6 goals in the playoffs. I'm like, right, but he's also got more assists than anybody's ever had combined points in a single playoff campaign. I know more games than other, but whatever. He's having if McDavid starts lighting the lamp in these 2 games, let's say he finishes with 3 or 4 goals here, and now even if they lose, that doesn't change your mind now that he's gotten into double-digit scoring and he's got 40+ points in a single playoff campaign?
It is remarkable what he has done. Like, he's in a conversation with Mario Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky. Like, that's like, there's no better than that, right? But what do those 2 players have, though? They have the Stanley Cup. So, like, I get it. I get how hard it is to take it away from him. I'm not saying he hasn't this is, to me, is the same conversation as we were having with, Austin Matthews winning MVP. Like, if he hits 70, you're right. It's hard to take it away from him. But there were a lot of us who were willing to give it to somebody else based on the things that they did and what they needed to achieve. And the Conn Smythe is definitely the most valuable player to his team in the playoffs. I get what it's Connor McDavid, man. I understand that. But in terms of value today, Sergei Bobrovsky gives you the best value for it. And the impact that Bobrovsky would need to have in order for them to win, especially with this adversity, it's right there for him. It's right there for the taking. We know that when Bobrovsky's on his game, he makes a difference. When he's off it, I mean, look how bad the Panthers are, right? He is an X factor for the team. Maybe not on the same level that Connor McDavid is, but I'm not willing to take it away from Sergei Bobrovsky. He would have to implode. And again, if he implodes, Florida's not winning the Stanley Cup. So I don't have to worry about that.
McDavid has 10 more points than the next Oiler, which is Bouchard, has 20 more points than Tkachuk, who leads for Florida. He's been leading throughout this whole playoffs in points. You go to the goaltending, right? And I know it's all the teams aren't playing, but I look at the top 4 that were left: Ottinger, Shesterkin, and Bobrovsky is not better in goals against. He's not better in save percentage. Like, I know he's playing more games now, but like, he wasn't even the best out of those 4 goalies that were available there. Which I guess if they win, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's like a shoo-in for Bobrovsky.
So here's my take on how the series goes. If the Edmonton Oilers win in any fashion, it's McDavid's Conn Smythe, unless Stuart Skinner has 2 50+ save shutouts to get them there, and even then, I'm probably still giving it to McDavid. If Florida wins in 6 or 7, and Bobrovsky gets a shutout in one of those 2 games, then I would give it to him. If it's just a pedestrian performance that he didn't lose the game for them, I have to give it to Barkov. I got to go to safe money there, because Barkov has been a consistent presence throughout the playoffs. We've all heard, on the American telecast, Sean McDonough and Ray Ferraro just wax poetically about Barkov. Messier said during one of the intermission reports, this is one of the best defensive hockey efforts I've ever seen out of a single player. I mean, or it was a Gretzky, whoever it was. But with Bobrovsky, it's tough for me to give it to a goalie in a series where he got pulled. I'm not saying it's his fault. It's just tough in a series like that. And then especially if it goes to a 7th game, I don't know if he can get it. But if Bobrovsky plays well in game 6, can understand that a little bit more, but I just think because you have a quality candidate like Barkov right there, Bobrovsky has to have like a big performance, a shutout, one goal against with 35 plus saves, something like that, to get back in that conversation. So that's where I stand on that. I'm tempted to say McDavid in 7, even if the Oilers lose, because it's been that kind of playoffs. But I think either Bobrovsky or Barkov or somebody would have to step up in Game 7 to stop the bleeding, to make sure they get the cup. That it would be enough to put them over the hump instead of giving it to a losing player, which hasn't happened since 2003 with Jean-Sebastien Giguère. And you will have Devils fans that say Brodeur played better than him in that series. So
one more thing on Bobrovsky, right? Because this is the Conn Smythe for the entire playoffs. Look at the losses that they've had, right? Loss in Tampa, gave up 6 goals. Loss against Boston, 5 goals. There was one that he gave up only 2. Another 5-goal game that they lost, 8 and 5.
Well, I mean, he was pulled, I think, at the 4 or the 5 mark in that game. So I know Stolarz probably gave up a few of those in the 8-1 game. But no, I see what you're saying. When it's bad, it's bad. So that's the blemish there. And if you didn't have a steady, consistent guy like Barkov, who's had the playoff, and that's the thing. I know they say it's the whole playoff campaign, but let's be real. It's usually the last 2 rounds that you're getting evaluated on. I don't think anybody's looking at what Connor McDavid did in the King series in the first round, or what Barkov did against the Lightning in the first round, and really weighing that into their evaluation. So, yeah, the odds are there, but at this point, it's McDavid's to lose. But hey, you got two decent options there, both at plus money for Florida if you think they're gonna stay, come home with the cup either in Game 6 or 7.
I'm sorry that the guy. I'm sorry, McDavid. I hope he doesn't watch this on the plane. I hope he's busy playing poker or something. But I don't want to wake him up. But it's just not. It's not for him.
Yeah, keep your focus on that. I don't think we have to worry about them watching. So maybe in the summer when they're catching up, but not right now. Not this week.
Yeah. Let's just keep this on the down low. Share it with your friends. Don't at McDavid in it. But I'm sticking to my Bobrovsky. I understand everything that Connor McDavid has done, and it's hard to take it away from him and stuff like that. But if Florida's winning this series because Bob did his job, I can't take it away from him, because he is proven, like Anna said, when it's bad, it's bad. But when it's good, though, like he's
very good.
He's a difference maker. So, and all it's a goalie. Like goalies are,
They haven't gotten it a lot recently. Jonathan Quick got it back in 14 or 12. I forget which year he got it. But yeah, they're few and far. But Tim Thomas, I think, got it the year the Bruins beat it. But I mean, it's few and far between after that, going prior to that. So there you go. Conn Smythe odds, Stanley Cup Game 6 preview.